Welcome everyone to Live with Janome. I'm Ann Hine, embroidery software specialist for Janome America. And today we're doing another installment of our mystery quilt block party, block 11, which is Every Quilt Needs a Home. Wonder what that means. Let me put on the camera and we'll take a look. All right, so behind me you can kind of see our block right there. We're making a block with a little house on it. And we're creating these blocks in the Artistic Digitizer software. If you're new to the software or you're new to what we're doing with the software, we started this last January and we've either made anywhere from 1 to 4 blocks a month, depending on what we were doing, all different blocks. And they're a bit of a quilt as you go. And then after the December block, in the first part of January, I'll go over how we're going to combine them all and put them all together and make our final quilt. I'll have some options for you at that point. So if you want to see what blocks we've done before, you can go over to the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page and go to guides and the mystery quilt block party, and you'll find all the block information there, the videos and the instruction sheets there. So for today's video, I'm going to go over the general parts of how we created this block, how I'm stitching it in the hoop. And then I'm going to create a second video that will go through just the software end of it and show you how to create it from start to finish in the software. I think that would be a lot easier. It's a much longer video if I do it all at once. So I wanted to preview the block, show you the whole idea of the block, and then we will follow up with a second video, which I will post over on the Janome Artistic Digitizer page on how to create the block. I'm going to show you a bit of it today and how I'm stitching it, but the whole part of it, I'll do a begin to end video and post it over there. And that will be within the next week. I'll get that posted. So let me go to my camera and I'll show you the block and talk about it just a little bit. And here it is. So it is a piece in the hoop block. And what that means is, and I've added embroidery to it as well. So it means it starts at one position. So we would start in the center, stitching down the house part. And then we will add these side pieces of sky on right and left. So they're stitched and flipped if you're familiar with that procedure. Then we will move up to the rooftop and we'll stitch and flip the roof. Same thing here, we'll stitch and flip the little side parts on here and then the very top. And then we'll add a side piece and a side piece. And finally, the grass at the bottom. And the last thing that we'll stitch will be the embroidery. And these little embroidery design, the applique, I'm sorry, and then the little embroidery. And I plan to put a little button here for a doorknob for my little door. And I may put something in the window here. I haven't decided. These embroideries, they come from the software within the, I think they're in the clip art library. And so I brought them in here and I did a little bit of a change to them. I think I reduced the density a little bit and I resized them to put them over here. You can add any embroidery you want to it. You can skip embroidery, you can add quilting, all of that. I didn't really need to add the quilting to it. I think it's going to be fine just the way it is. It's the way the quilt is stitched through. I think won't have any trouble with that part of it. And this is just wrinkly because I've folded it up there. So here we go. I'm going to turn on the software and show you how I started creating this, and we'll work from there. And then I'm going to show you stitching it out too, just the first little bit of it, so you can see what I mean about stitch and flip. All right, let's open the software. Here we go. So here's the start of our block. And one of the things that I did is I first bring in the block base. Hang on here, let me see. I got a little extra window in the way here. I bring in the block base, which is over here in our sequence window. So here's the block base. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to do down here, I'm going to do remove overlaps to never. There we go. So that we won't have any stitches or any breaks or open pieces. These are all separate pieces that are in here. All right, so I started out with this center piece right here, and I'm actually going to slide over this way And in the space on the side here, I'm going to create our design and leave the rest of it in the hoop. Or I could move this off to the, we could do that too. Let me do the same. It's the same difference no matter which way I go. Let's move this over here. Okay. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to turn on my grid right there. I might even put on the snap. Once you turn it on, you got to click off of it and then go back to turn it, well, let's see, maybe it's going to let me do it. Let's see here. Back in. All right, well, it doesn't want to show the snap. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll live without it. All right, and I am using, this is for some reason I have it coming up on the 550. So I'm just going to change this to the CM17 this way, go to the top of this, pick there, and I will pick this hoop here because that's what I have on my machine at the moment. Select the top. Now this little pink behind here, I'm going to turn that off, and in View, Custom UI Colors, you can come in here, and that's the error fill, and you can click there and just dim it for this particular design. And we'll close that. Let's see if my grid will come on. Oh, there's snap now. There we go. All right, so I started out by creating the center of the house, and I brought in first my block base. So I'm actually going to select those right now, and I'm going to copy paste them and move them into the center of my piece. And let me zoom in so we can see what's going on. Here we go. All right. Then once I was in here, so this should be pretty well centered. I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to figure out where my center lines are. There's that one, and then here. There we go. All right, so I have that in the center. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my center shape. And I just use my rectangular tool, and I'm just going to click and drag. And I have snap on, so it's staying within the squares for me, which is really nice. And then I'm just going to make it wider, maybe this wide. Maybe I'll move it over just a little bit. Okay. And my original one, I'll tell you my measurements. My original one, and I had some printouts here. I'll show you those in just a moment when we go back. They were very handy in the building of this, so I will show you that in just a moment. So the middle of mine was probably 3 inches wide. So up here in my box, I can put 3.0 for the width, and then my height, let me see here. My height was 3.25. I think my width was bigger than this. It was 3.5. I looked at the wrong number. 3.5 there. And then the height of it was 3.25. So I'm going to put that in here. There we go. So that's the start of my house. And I'm just going to turn my grid off really quick here for you. Let's see if I can get it with my, there we go. So you can see the outside blocks here. This is the actual size of my block, and then this is the finished size, this is the unfinished part. So there's my house in the center there, the main part of my house. And from there, I wanted to put, I went ahead and I put in a door. So I just clicked another rectangle, and then I'm going to change the color of that over here. I'm going to make the door blue with a blue outline. And then I made a little window as well. And I'm going to put my window there, and I'm going to use the silver gray for my window. And one of the things, if you notice here, it's putting the little holes in there. So what I want to do is I'm going to hit select, and I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to go to properties and remove overlaps. I'm going to put never remove those overlaps, and then make sure under fill that fill says never as well. There we go. Now we will have our little pieces. So these two pieces I turned into appliques by selecting them and going to applique, and then I chose satin stitch, and here I did the window, and that's applique, and I did satin stitch with that as well. So there they are. And this little house, this little window, this doorway window, here we go. We're gonna move those up, and I'll move my window, maybe my window up just a little bit. There we go. And you can keep adjusting these as you go. So there's the start of my house. And then I thought, ooh, I need a rooftop. So I went back to my tools. I picked rectangle, and I clicked and dragged a rectangle up here, and then just made it a little bit bigger. Brought it down so it sat right on top like that. And then on my rooftop, I did have the angles here. So I'll show you how I created my angles. Actually, I'm going to change the color of that. I'm going to use this gray here for my rooftop. It's selected. Because this is a shape, if I hit edit nodes, I only get these ones here, which won't help me. And I'm going to go up here to convert to curves, and then I can edit nodes. And now I can drag these in. And let me put my my grid back on, maybe. There we go. So I can see what's happening here. I'm going to drag this over. I want to keep it on those lines, and I'll just maybe drag it till I think I have the angle I want. Bring this, oh, that's not what you want to do. You want to hang on to that and just drag it over like that. And then you can see how many boxes you went over on each side. So if I'm here, if I'm on this line, I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 spots. And this one, I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe I should go back one. So they're even. There we go. So I have even lines on there. So that's my rooftop. Now, if you are thinking about how are you going to do stitch and flip with this, this is where you have to put your thinking cap on. I have my house, and if I go to stitch this on, I really need something on the sides here first. So I need to take something that attaches to the side of my house on either side. Then I can add my rooftop to it. So I just went back into my tools, to my shape tool, rectangular, and I started up here, and I let it drag out to the edge like that, to the edge of the roof, and came to the bottom here. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to turn that into the silver gray, because that is the sky color that I picked. So there's the side of my, this is my house, and this is the air next to my house. On the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start right here, drag over and come down, and it only has to come as far as the bottom of the house, and I'll select it and turn it into the silver gray here. There we go. And now you can see when I scroll down that were I to stitch this, let me just click off of it, I would stitch this down. I would take this piece right sides together and flip it out, stitch it and flip it out. Same thing over here, stitch it and flip it out. Then I could lay my rooftop here, stitch it and then flip it up. Okay, kind of makes sense, doesn't it, as we go along? When we go to the machine, it'll make a little bit more sense when we get over there. So let me go here and bring this up a little bit. So this way, wait a minute. I have a new mouse, so I'm learning which way everything goes with this mouse. There we go. All right, so the next thing I need to do is probably put these side pieces, these side triangles in here so that I'll have something to stick over here. And what I found was I want to make my triangle just in this area here, like just right here. I could do it a couple different ways. I could do my digitized outline shape, and I would use shift, and I'm going to start right on this line. Let's scroll in a little bit more. I want to start right on this line here and along that line. So I'm going to do shift and click. I'm going to come here, shift and click, come down here, shift and click, come back up here, put it on top, and click, and it's done. So I have the one on that side, and that's going to be the silver gray as well. So I'm just going to change it right away. Then I could come over here, and I could do the same over here. Select my digitize tool. Let's click off of that one and digitize tool. I'm going to do shift again, and I can start here. I'm only going to go over to this line here, and this is why snap works so well, because let me go back just a little bit here so you can see. When I start here, you can see it's staying on the line. So I get a nice straight line. And when I get over here where I want to go down, I just left click again while holding shift. And then I'm going to come here, shift, and come back up, shift, and I have the side light. So I have the other part of my sky. There we go. All right, so now I can add the piece here that finishes off the top of the house. And this is the edge of the very edge of my block, so I can come back to my rectangular shape, and then I'm going to come in here, and I want to be probably a 1/4 inch beyond this line, and I'm right on this line here. So there we go, and I'm just going to click and drag over and drag down, and there I have the top of the sky that's over my house. I'm going to fill that in right here. All right, so you see how I have those parts? And now I can add the side pieces because I need to fill in all of this over here and all of this on that side. So I can make another rectangle. It'll be so much easier stitching these because you're going to be having straight edges to work with. I'm going to start a 1/4 inch out, come on down, and I'm going to stop at down here. I'm going to stop. Let me pick that up. And right at the bottom here, these are all going to be the same because the grass is going to be down here. In fact, I don't have a lot of grass, so I may do a little change in there. And you are the designer, so you can add, you can make this top part shorter, move everything up and make it shorter. So this one is the sky also. And then on the right side, I'm going to go back to my shape. I'm going to scroll in so I can see where I'm going. I'm going to start a 1/4 inch out. I'm going to go a 1/4 inch. Well, that's not quite right. Let me just delete that. I know I could. There we go. So I'm going to select it again. I want to start right here at that corner. Click and drag. Well, it's going at the top there. We'll figure that out after. And come on down. I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to make it fit where I need it to fit. This is going to come over. It just doesn't want to come over. There we go. Use your arrow keys sometimes. There we go for little changes, and we'll bring that down. Sometimes that's easier than maneuvering your mouse, is using your arrow keys. And I think I'm going to bring this up so I can see. I need to go make this just a little bit smaller because it's more than a 1/4 inch over the edge there. So if I need to just bring it back like 2 little boxes and drag this down to here. Okay. Now, if I think I don't have enough grass down here, what I would do is at the top of I would make these just a little bit smaller. So let's go up there and make them a little smaller like this. We'll squish that down. We're going to make this match that. There we go. And we'll make this one match it as well. And then we'll select all of the pieces of the house. I don't want to move these 2 blocks here. I want to keep those where they are. So I'm going to select, oh, I don't need that. That's true. I just need these boxes here. So I'm going to click on them because I have stuff sitting off to the side. And I'm going to select all my pieces. I think I have all of them. And I'm going to zoom in here so we can see what's happening. And I'm just going to slide them up so they're a 1/4 inch beyond that last line. And I must have missed this guy, so we'll slide him in there. There we go. A little bit more. There we are. This one can move over. Now, when I look at the bottom, let's go to the bottom. I have a little more space here for the grass. So I'm going to slide over and I can pick my shape and I'm going to go down here, go back past it by about a 1/4, come over here to this side. And this is the green one, so I'm going to make it green. This one here has to go and be made to the gray, silver gray. There we go. Let me see what's happening at the top. So now I have the base of my house to work with, and then from here I can turn those boxes into the lines. And it will look something like this when we get done. And this is the part I'm going to do the separate video on, how I created all these lines from those squares and shapes. So this will be what will be stitched in the hoop. All right, so let me go back here to the camera and we will go over to the machine in just a moment. Okay, so basically you use your shapes tool to create, or your drawing tool to create your house and the parts that are next to your house. And you just have to think about how things have to be connected in order to stitch the next part. You have the center of your house, you have the parts on the side, then you can add your roof, then you can add the side parts up there for the sky, then the piece across the top, the side pieces, and then of course your grass. So sort of like, I guess, I'm trying to think of the other things that I can relate to that, but it's, when you're building it, you need to start with your center part and go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my camera on over here at the machine, and I will stitch out parts of the design for you so I can show you the stitch and flip and talk about that just a little bit. If you have comments, please post them down below the video, and I will be back. I haven't been able to look at my comments today, so I will be back to look at the comments right after the video or within the next day or so. I always keep coming back because there's always more comments. All right, so let me get my camera in the right position. I think we're pretty good here. I'm going to open this up a little bit. There we go. All right, so what's happening here, I did stitch already the outer part of the block, and then it will stitch one more time the center part. And let me do that. That's when you stitch this inner part, this is your actual seam line of your block, and it's a 1/4 inch away from the outside edge. So we have this inner part is the finished, and the outer part would be called the unfinished size of the block. So that's 6.5 on the inside and then 7 on the outside. There we go. And then the first thing that's going to stitch is the placement line for the house, for that centerpiece. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that. Just drop something on there. Now, if this was the one for my quilt, I would be using a light colored thread. I wouldn't use black, but I want you to see the parts of this. So I'm going to try to bring the camera in a little closer, and I'll turn it just a little bit so you can see. Let's see, this will go this way. And maybe we'll turn it. There we go. I think it'll stay. It's kind of hard to keep my camera in some spots because the little mechanism doesn't like to hold it. All right, here we go. It's going to stitch the center part where the house will go. This is the placement line. So my piece of fabric will fit right inside there. Or it could be a little bit bigger than that. That's fine too. Okay, then I'm going to lay this in here like that. Now it's bigger than the placement line. And you can see by where that needle is going to come down. Let me bring my needle down. My needle is going to come down a 1/4 inch away from here. So this is seam allowance on that part of it. So you want your piece to at least cover that line. And then when you're ready, press your start button. It's going to hold this down. I did set this at somewhat of a basting stitch because it will be stitched down with a seam in a bit, but just to hold this in place so you're not trying to maneuver around it too much. That's why I did it that way. Now you can go ahead, since I made this larger, you can go ahead and trim this off at the 1/4 inch here if you want, or what you think is a 1/4 inch, whatever your eyeball goes for. So I'm going to trim it away like that. And that's okay. This is all on the inside. Sometimes it's hard to cut with a camera in the way. There we go. I know we're going to stitch right on this line, so I've left enough there, and I just can trim this up a little bit this way. There we go. Now my needle's sitting over here, and what's going to happen is it's going to stitch a straight line here because my next piece is going to have to, after it's stitched, it has to reach all the way to here. Okay, So that would be the outer edge of my fabric. So I'm going to stitch this next part. This is a placement or a line that I need to make sure my little side piece here fits to. All right, and what I'm talking about, I'm actually going to pull my hoop back this way so you can see. And maybe I can get the zoom working today. For some reason, it doesn't like my finger. There we go. And I have to move out a little bit. All right. So what's going on here, and if I can, there we go. So it's going to stitch this piece when I have it right sides together like this. It's going to stitch it right here on that 1/4 inch seam. And then I'm going to what's called fold over. So this has to fold over when it's stitched on that line, and it has to come at least to that line I put over here. You see that line there? So it has to come at least to there. If I lay this right against this line here, I've cut this 1.5 inches, which is bigger than this, so I should be okay. So I'm going to lay it right up there like this, and I'm going to hit, oh wait, helps if you attach your hoop. This is where it's good that we have the sensor on that hoop. There we go. Now it's going to attach this. And I'm going to flip this back. And you can see, I'll flip it back over. You can see that line right here. Now I can flip this back. It covers that. And I'm just going to use a little piece of tape over here. I don't need to stitch this down again. I'll be okay because it's going to get stitched at the top, so I'm not going to worry about it so much. Now it's over on this side, so it's going to put that placement line over here for the piece that fits on the side, one of the pieces, because there's actually a second piece that's going to go over here. All right, so let me get my strip. And this is going to go right here, and then it'll stitch, and I'll flip it over, and it has to make sure it covers this line right there. All right, here we go. Put it right there. And then along the bottom here, I'm going to take this out so you can see. Along the bottom of this, I can trim now all of this right at this point, right along here. So I can trim this one off, and I can fold this one back and trim that one back like that, and then the red part. So when I get to doing the grass part, I'll just put the grass part there along here and fold it down. And just like I did the side one, I'm going to push this over, give it a good finger press. It's good to give it a good finger press so that it will stay folded over there. And you can see, because I did it in black, I don't know if you guys can see, I can see some stitch lines here. That's the basting stitch. And that's one reason I did it as a basting stitch, so that I can pick it back out if it shows in the seam. So that's not a problem. I'm not worried about that. Then I would put my rooftop up here, and it's going to stitch it on, and I would flip it up. So let me get a piece for that, and we'll go from there. And I do oversize my pieces only because I know I'd rather have them too large than too small. And there's a way to find out the sizes of your pieces, and I'll show you that. So here's my rooftop piece. I know I have to, it's going to seam right here, and I know I have to line it up with the line back there, or at least the very top of these. So I'm going to set it just like this, and it's going to stitch that down. And then I'm going to flip it up like this, and it's going to stitch, it's going to tack it. This is one I did put a tack down on it for this part up here because I have these triangles going in, and I want to be sure I can, this is be secured when I go to do that. All right, so the next part is a placement line for me for the start of the triangle piece. And it's going to do one on the other side as well. And then I would trim this. I'm just going to trim one side like this. And then I would put my side piece on. I don't know if I have it. Oh, I do have one. So the side piece, it needs to fit way over here. And it's actually going to put when I push this back in, it will stitch the placement for the side piece. So let me do that. That'll be the last thing that we're going to stitch today. There we go. So I need to know that my fabric is going to cover all of that when I put it there. So I'm going to pop this out so I can get it closer. There we go. So you can set it just like that. It's going to stitch here, and then you're going to flip it over, and it'll be set there, and the next piece will hold it in place. All right, so this will be the last piece we stitch today. And I want to make sure I have it far enough down this way. I'm going to put this back in, and it's going to stitch that down. So let's let that go, and I'll flip it back and show you. Okay, so when I flip this back, I'll pop this out so you can see. When I flip this back, it covers that whole little L shape over here, like that. And as we do that top section, then I'll be able to trim this as we go. So I'll do the other side and then the top, then I'll do these sides, and then of course the grass will be done. Then we do the applique and then the embroidery. All right, we're not going to do all of that today because I'm going to come back and show you in the software how I created all those lines from my squares. But I just wanted to go over this part of it today so that it would give you a good idea about how the whole block works and how I created it and what it looks like. So hopefully this doesn't confuse you too much. I think this is the best way to do it. I'll be back with a lesson just on the software part of it of how I got the lines for my pieces to actually stitch. And it's really, once you see, now that you've seen how I put it together, once you see that part and then you come into the software, I have some nice tips for you on how to create those lines from your squares and the shapes that you put in there. So till we meet again, I'll be back next week with this. And I think I'm back here on Friday for, oh, not on here, but on Continental Club on Friday at 3 p.m. And I'm doing the screensaver app. So you know how my screen will go to sleep. I have it set at 10 minutes today, so it's not going to go really quickly, but sometimes you'll see it go back and it'll have pictures there. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow on the Continental Club. All right, everyone, I'm going to let you go. I'll be posting the directions after I do the other video, and that will be next week. I'll post it over on the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page, so you'll be able to find it over there. Thanks for joining me today, and remember, every quilt needs a home. Bye for now.